Carroll Shelby is a professional racer who is forced into early retirement due to a heart condition and goes into car sales. Warm and likable, he's a natural salesman and a people person. He is also an incredible vehicle designer and engineer. Meanwhile, Ken Miles is a racer currently working as a mechanic and running his own shop to support his wife Molly and son Peter. He tells it like it is and sometimes gets customers angry, but he doesn't sugarcoat anything. At a race, Ken is told his car does not meet regulations and begins angrily yelling at the race official.
Of the SEC regulations on luggage capacity. All right.
Carroll spots this and calms him down, but afterwards the two get into an argument and Ken throws a wrench at him.
Like a jackass.
Later, the IRS comes and shuts down Ken's garage, and he's forced to give up most of his racing in order to take care of his family. Meanwhile, at Ford Motors, Henry Ford II is furious that sales are down and that his father's company is in danger. He begins taking pitches from his underlings. Lee Iacocca pitches him an idea. The sexiest cars are race cars, like Ferraris. He posits that if Ford can win the Le Mans, the 24-hour race, they will be at the top. In order to do that, they fly to Italy in order to offer the struggling Ferrari a deal. They will buy the company and let Enzo Ferrari maintain control of the racing division. Ferrari uses this offer to get Fiat to make a good offer, and they buy Ferrari. Ferrari tells the Ford businessmen to shove it and calls Henry a fat pig.
Puttana da quattro soldi.
Tell your pig-headed boss that all his smug executives are worthless sons of whores.
When they get back, Henry makes them relay in detail what Ferrari said, and he becomes more determined than ever to beat Ferrari. He decides they will start their own racing division. Lee approaches Carroll as the only American to ever win at Le Mans, if he would be the head of their racing team, designing and testing the cars. Carroll agrees and goes to Ken, the best driver he knows, to take part.
To beat old man Ferrari with a Ford.
Correct.
When Molly sees Ken heading out with Carroll, she angrily demands to know the truth. He tells her that he's been offered great pay to race, and she's thrilled. She just doesn't want him to ever lie to her. The team begins getting the car into shape for their first big race, but as it approaches, Ford Vice President Leo Beebe approaches Carroll and tells them that Ken's rakish, unpredictable quality is not part of the Ford brand, and he can't be trusted to do press and represent Ford well, and that he can't be their driver. Carroll fights for Ken, but is eventually forced to tell Ken that he won't be racing. Ken is furious.
The gearbox will overheat.
When Ford loses the race, Carroll is able to convince Henry to allow him to rehire Ken. He goes to Ken's house and apologizes and asks him to come back, and the two end up getting into a physical fight on his front lawn.
And this car ain't gonna build itself.
They finally give up, exhausted, and Molly brings them some cold sodas. Ken rejoins the team, who are working day and night trying to perfect the car. Lee warns Carroll that Leo is determined to have Ken removed from the team and intend on doing so on their next visit. Knowing this, when Henry and Leo arrive, Carroll locks Leo in his office and takes Henry out for a ride in the race car. And Henry experiences just how terrifying and exhilarating racing is.
Hit it. Attaboy.
When they stop, he breaks down into sobs. Carroll offers him a deal. Let Ken race at Daytona. If they win, he races at Le Mans in France. If they lose, Henry gets full control over Carroll's company. At Daytona, they find tough competition in a second Ford team that Ford had commissioned to see who engineered the best vehicle. Ken is able to win the race, securing their team the spot at Le Mans and ensuring Ken will drive there.
All right.
In France, Le Mans approaches. Ferrari and Henry are both in attendance. When the race starts, Ken's door won't shut, slowing him down on the first lap. The car that they had designed was able to accelerate to really high speeds, but doing so burned out the brakes. So deep into the race, the pit crew changes out the brakes. The Italians at Ferrari are furious, saying this is a violation of the rules. But Carroll points out the rule book says they're allowed to change parts, and it isn't specified which ones. Eventually, Ferrari's car spins out and crashes, leaving Ken in first place, and Molly and Peter are able to watch on television as Ken completes his much-desired perfect leg. Leo, who had been trying to bypass Carroll and mess with their strategy, goes to Henry and suggests that the best image for Ford would be to have all three of their cars cross the finish together. He agrees, and Leo gives Carroll the order, who refuses. Carroll tells Ken the instruction, but tells him it's his race, and he will stand behind him no matter what. At first, Ken speeds to the victory, but he eventually relents and slows down, allowing the other drivers to catch up and cross the finish together. Everyone celebrates Ken's win until a technicality. He started behind another car, puts him into second, not first. Carroll is furious, but Ken accepts it, and the two go off together. Weeks later, while training at the racetrack, Ken crashes and is killed. Carroll goes to his family's home and finds Peter, who he gives the wrench that Ken threw at him. He gets into his car and, despite his condition, speeds off into the distance. The postscript tells us that Carroll's cars won the Le Mans 4 years, and that Ken was inducted posthumously into the Racing Hall of Fame.